Happening now, Bajurda's reopens after an employee tests positive for COVID-19. Plus, what new numbers say about Governor Andrew Cuomo's approval rating.
And there's more clouds than sun out there early this afternoon, and there's going to be a chance for a few inland thunder boomers. I've got the full forecast next. The news at noon starts now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now as we start a brand new week. I'm Justin Gould. A local staple of fresh produce in Jamestown is back open after an employee tested positive for COVID-19. Burjoda's Farmland Produce and Garden Center announced the news in a post on social media yesterday. They say those who visited their Fairmount Avenue location between Sunday, July 5th and Monday, July 6th, could have been exposed to an employee who later tested positive for COVID-19. The company says it is working with the county health department, who on Sunday gave them the okay to reopen. The company says during the brief closure over the weekend, they spent time cleaning and sanitizing the storefront. Now, prior to the employee testing positive, Burjoda's says staff has been sanitizing surfaces daily and practicing mitigation efforts like mask wearing and social distancing. Meanwhile, the number of those under quarantine or isolation orders in Chautauqua County increased over the past weekend. The county health department reported Sunday 516 are now under quarantine, that up 88 from 428 on Saturday. Additionally, 2 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 were reported, bringing the countywide total to 176 with 36 cases active. The new cases involve a child and a woman in her 70s. Now, last week, county health officials reported a spike in cases with 16 on Friday. County physician Dr. Robert Burke stressed the need for residents to be fully cooperative with contact tracers should they be tested positive for COVID-19.
We're getting reports from the health department that young folks who we're contacting are very reticent to give us names of people that they've been in contact with. This is absolute insanity. If we do not case find and track everybody that has been in contact with that case, we will never put an end to this. We will be chasing our tail for the next year.
Some good news here. There remain 0 people hospitalized with COVID-19 in Chautauqua County. Well, some nursing home facilities in New York State will soon be able to allow visitors once again. The Department of Health Commissioner Howard Zucker says that nursing homes and long-term care facilities without any new coronavirus cases among residents and staffers in the last 28 days can start to allow limited visitation on Wednesday. Now, under new guidelines, residents can have visits from up to 2 people at a time, and visitors must undergo temperature checks, wear face masks, keep 6 feet away from those residents during the visit, and at least one of the visitors must be 18 years or older. Additionally, no more than 10% of residents can have visitors at one time, and the state's rules limit visitation to outdoor areas, weather permitting. Otherwise, visitation is allowed inside a well-ventilated space with up to 10 socially distant individuals wearing face coverings. The Department of Health says the state's policy follows guidelines from the federal government and is limited to nursing homes without staffing shortages that have tested all residents. Nursing homes that allow visitors are required to send 1 visitation plan to the state. Well, a new poll shows that New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's job performance ratings have reached new heights, lifted by his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and the following economic recovery. The NBC Marist poll found that 60% of registered voters rate the governor's handling of the pandemic as good or excellent. Furthermore, the poll says that 55% of upstate New Yorkers responded positively to his handling of the virus outbreak, compared to 67% of those in New York City. Additionally, 69% of upstaters approve of his leadership during the pandemic. That compared to 75% downstate. Now, as for his handling of the economy, 52% of those here in upstate approved of his economic decisions. That compared to 63% in New York City. The poll also found that 86% of Democrats, 65% of independents, and around 28% of Republicans approve of the governor overall. Full polling results are posted at WNYNewsNow.com. Well, we hope everybody had a great weekend, and we thank you so much for joining us here for WNY News Now. Let's check in with the comments and say hello to Marcia. Hopefully you're doing well. Great to see you here. Thanks so much for joining us today. Good to see Dave, Lori, Joanna, Pam, and Lakeith. Hopefully everybody is having a great start to your week. Let's switch gears now and get a check of our First Defense weather forecast. That's where we find Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. And Mr. Hunter, a happy Monday to you. Certainly this past weekend we got some much needed rain and much needed relief weather-wise out there.
Yeah, we did. And I mean, this weekend was wet, especially on Saturday. It was pretty wet. But right now, no rain falling right now as of noon hour right here in Salamanca. 75 degrees, no wind to speak of out there. And a dew point of 53. That's the key, the dew point low. So again, it's not going to be as humid as it has been. First Defense Doppler, relatively dry. But again, as we put it in a time lapse over the past hour, you can see a few little speckles that's kind of popping up on the radar from time to time. Again, through the afternoon today, we will have the chance for a few scattered showers and maybe a couple thunderstorms through the afternoon, but the afternoon's not going to be a washout. 67 here in town, 68 in Mayville, 68 also in Clymer, 69 Corey, and 73 by the lake at Dunkirk. So temperatures cooler than where they have been, especially last week, but I wouldn't get used to this because some more heat and humidity is going to be on the way. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. 76 was the high yesterday. 57 is, of course, where we bottomed out this morning. 96 is the record high set all the way back in 1936. We'll be safe for one more year. We'll add that on there for another year. So basically sun and clouds are going to be battling through the afternoon. Again, there's that chance for a spotty afternoon shower, especially inland away from Lake Erie. It stays cool and comfortable, 72 to 77 with a west wind averaging about 7 to 14 miles per hour. Don't get used to that cool air because, as I just told you, some heat and humidity will be making a return by the end of the week. We'll talk about it in a few. Justin?
All right, Dakota, thank you very much. One person was taken to the hospital after a fishing boat capsized on Chautauqua Lake over the weekend. The Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office Navigation Unit responded to a capsized bass boat in the Loomis Bay Road area just after 2 o'clock Saturday. Deputies arrived on scene there to find a Good Samaritan towing that boat. The operator of the vessel alerted them to a passenger who swam to shore. That passenger was located and began to show signs of shock and or hypothermia. Deputies took them to the Long Point Sheriff's Subdivision to render aid. The Bemis Point Fire Department then responded and transported that boater to UPMC Chautauqua Hospital. Well, one of the Jamestown Police Department's newest K-9 units suddenly passed away. K-9 Promber, who was partnered with Officer Eric Kraft, died early Saturday morning, according to the Chautauqua Blue Lives Matter Facebook group. K-9 Promber joined the Jamestown Police Department last year. He was named in honor of retired JPD Detective Stephen Promber, who passed away unexpectedly in March of 2019 due to a medical emergency. The Chautauqua Blue Lives Matter, in a post on social media, said his presence, only felt for a short time, will be lasting and he will be remembered and honored forever. In his brief time with JPD, K-9 Promber was involved in numerous searches and operations. Coming up next, a lot more to tell you about this half hour. Hear what local staple has won a nationally renowned cultural contest. But first, we speak to two leaders from the Jamestown Justice Coalition about their push to bring equality to the area. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you. When you're on the go, stay in the know by downloading the WNY News Now mobile app. Stay up to date on local news, weather, and sports that matter to you. Plus, subscribe to breaking news and weather alerts from the team that puts coverage first. In addition, watch news as it happens with the Southern Tier's only 24/7 streaming network. Download the WNY News Now app right now. It's free on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. It has been over a month since 46-year-old George Floyd was killed by a Minneapolis police officer who was seen in a video kneeling on his neck. Those actions sparking a renewed call for change, not just around the nation, but here in Jamestown as well. Joining us on the show are two local leaders with the Jamestown Justice Coalition, Justin Hubbard and Elise Scott. Thank you both for spending time with us today and for talking to us.
Thank you.
First off, I want to get your take on the news that just broke this morning that the Washington Redskins baseball team is now dropping Redskins from their name. What does that mean to you and your organization?
So, with the NFL football team from Washington deciding to retire that name, I think it shows overall that there's been a call nationwide to get rid of these slogans, names, and mascots that are depicting our Native American people in a derogatory manner. And I think it should come from all levels, really from the bottom up, and we can start at our local high schools and club teams as well.
Yeah, and certainly to that point, I know here in Jamestown, your group has called on Jamestown Public Schools to change the Red Raider mascot name. Have you been in talks with the school district, and does it seem like they're open to changing the name?
We're actually going to meet with them this week. On Thursday, we're going to meet with the new superintendent, and he seems like, yes, he is interested in having a conversation.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from the community since taking the stance and calling for change in regards to the name? I know there's been a lot of people on social media, some of who very much in support, others, though, not always agreeing. It seems like there does have to be more discussion before anything were to happen.
Yeah, overall, it's been mixed, but I do think that it's important regardless of any backlash.
Elise, do you have anything to add to that? What kind of feelings have you been getting from the community?
Again, we have a little bit of a mix of people in support of it and then others not so much in support of it. But regardless, it is something that definitely needs to happen as far as us changing the name for Jamestown. It's a great step that Washington Redskins are changing their name. And again, like Justin said, we should also be doing that at the local level.
Now, over the weekend, your group published an open letter to the community talking about the disconnect between law enforcement and community of color. However, there has been open public conversation between the community and law enforcement leaders like Sheriff Jim Quattrone and former Police Chief Harry Snellings, who spoke last month during the first of what was many rallies at Jamestown's Dow Park. For you, seeing the dialogue, what does that say about local law enforcement here?
Well, as far as the disconnect, sometimes we just feel like we don't really have, the Black and Brown community here doesn't really have that personable relationship with law enforcement here. We don't really have a lot of community policing going on. We don't really know our local law enforcement. We don't really have that relationship with them. They're not really coming to these communities and getting to know the citizens that they are policing. So that is where we were coming from when we said that there is a disconnect there. However, we have been talking to Sheriff Quattrone, Chief Snellings, we have talked with Tim Jackson, and our dialogue has been great. They're very open to what we have to say and making sure that we are making these changes so that we can connect on a better level with law enforcement.
Justin, from your perspective, I know you spoke publicly with Sheriff Quattrone and handed the mic over to him during one of the recent rallies. For you, meeting with him and talking to him, does that at all give you a little confidence that you can get to the change that your group is asking for?
Well, it shows me that it's a work in progress. And I think that having these open dialogues are very important for groups like ours that are advocating for minority communities to have these open dialogues with not only people in law enforcement, but public officials as a whole is extremely important. But at the end of the day, those relationships cannot take precedence over the communities that we're trying to represent. So we hope that through these dialogues, we're able to not only represent these communities, but advocate for them as well, and hopes that some of the disconnect and harmful misinformation that's been put out can end, and we can actually have community policing.
What specifically do you want to see changed within the police agencies? Is it that community policing, or is there more to it?
Definitely the community policing. We really need to establish a better relationship with law enforcement. We understand that as far as on a national level, there have been calls to defund the police. However, we know at a local level that is not something that can really work because we are already underfunded. So we really just want to work with them the best way that we can in order to form these better relationships.
And I would include that in order to have community policing, we need members of the police department that are actually within our communities. And I know that that's a push from our mayor as well, that they want more police officers that serve on JPD to actually live within the city limits of Jamestown. And overall, I think if those numbers increase, then you'll see a better relationship between police and these minority communities and the entire community of Jamestown, because they will actually be part of this great city.
Now, right now, a big decision that will likely have a long-term impact on the policing here in Jamestown is underway, with Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist seeking the city's next police chief. For you and your group, what type of person would you like to see fill that office?
We'd really like to see somebody that is open and willing to have these conversations. We know that sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but we really need somebody that is open to policing with respect to race, because we all understand that race does play a part in how people perceive the police and, again, how the police perceive other people. So it's definitely important that they are aware of these things, that they're aware of the issues that are happening within the Black and Brown community, so that way they can better serve those communities.
And I would add that we need a leader that is, of a new guard, that's interested and invested in, 21st century policing. With the uprisings and the civil unrest that's happening all around the country, really it needs to be a new day for law enforcement all over. And I think that involves a lot of community input. And we need a new chief that is willing to allow for that input and perhaps look at policies, look at codes, look at the morale of the police department, and really start to change the culture of our local police.
Now, in the past, we've seen very low participation when it comes to that local government, ranging from uncontested races to low attendance at public meetings. Why do you think that is, and what are your group trying to do to help get people more involved?
So overall, when it comes to government as a whole, I think that a lot of people, not only in our city, but in the United States, think that the system is broken. And it's very difficult when you do not value a system, when you think that it has failed you. But overall, what we're trying to let our community know is that we are the government, that these people represent us and they work for us. And so I think the biggest part is to start seeing that, and then starting to get the people invested in local government. Really all politics starts at the local level. So going to city council meetings, talking to your local representative, knowing what ward you live in, speaking to the mayor. I think those are all easy steps that most people can make, but sadly we haven't had that in the past. But I do see now that there is a call from the community to start getting more involved, and I really hope that we see that, and we're going to do our best to foster that.
And at least to your point, do you feel that people here in Jamestown really are ready for that change and ready to say, okay, I'm going to get involved?
I hope so. It's definitely a change that needs to happen. And like Justin said, this starts at the local level. So we really need to make sure that we know who is representing us, so that way we are choosing the proper candidates that are going to put forth in our community the things that we need. So that way we can also get involved in the government on a larger scale and make these changes happen on a wider scale as well.
And I know one point that we here at WNY News Now have talked with election officials locally about is it seems like a lot of people aren't interested in local races. They only really focus on presidential races and even some congressional races that don't get too much traction. So to me, it kind of just blows my mind, because it's when you look at the local level, this is where decisions are made that directly affect dinner table conversations, so to speak. For you and your group and connecting with people, do you think that this is a turning point, not just here in Jamestown, but across the whole nation, where people are going to say, let's call for this change instead of just calling for it, let's take action on it? And let's not stop until we get to where we want to be.
I really do think that, when you talk about people being invested on the national, the federal level, like presidential races over their own local government, I think a lot of that is the result of the way the media covers it. With these 24-hour media blocks that you see on national television, it turns out to be more like a sporting event or like a soap opera than, actual government work and legislation getting passed. So I think a lot of our people see that is something that's broken. And I think the best way to fix it is, like you said, those dinner table conversations, but we need to start investing in our own communities and our own cities. And the best way to do that is to talk to your local representatives and, possibly run for office, show up, get involved. Because at the end of the day, these people are your neighbors. These people are your, family and friends. And not only does it affect your livelihood, it also affects your pocketbook when we're talking about local politics and taxes. So I think that that's the best way for people to get involved. And I really hope that in Jamestown, but all over, that people start seeing that they are the government.
And to that point of getting involved, Mayor Sundquist is bringing back the Jamestown Human Rights Commission. And he tells us that since accepting applications for the 12-member board, he's received an overwhelming amount of feedback and possible candidates. What do you think that says about the community and those now who are interested in getting involved in the direction that they want to drive the ship now?
I think that the local community is definitely seeing that they can use their voices, that they can be active in what happens here. And I feel like it's great that so many people are applying for the role. It shows that we are actually willing to make a change here in our own community, and that's great.
Certainly, and I thank you both for joining us today. Finally, how can people get involved with your coalition group? What's the best way for them to learn more and get connected?
So we are constantly active on our Facebook page. We make sure that we let everybody know who we're meeting with, when we're meeting with them, and we always ask for their input about what they would like us to bring to those meetings and what concerns they have. So you can follow us on Facebook, like our page at Jamestown Justice Coalition, and you can keep up to date with everything that's going on with our group.
All right, Justin Hubbard and Elise Scott with the Jamestown Justice Coalition joining us today. Thank you both for your time. Certainly the conversation continues beyond this one, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Now let's get a check of our first offense weather forecast with Dakota.
All right, as you take a look at Links 1, this was something that happened on Saturday. Now, this is not live. This is not the live radar imagery. But what this is called a mesolow. This came our way Saturday and threw us all that rain. Now, basically, a mesolow is basically a small area of mesoscale low pressure, and it actually developed over Lake Erie and moved inland to the southern tier. See that swirl right there? That's that mesolow. And generally, a mesolow has higher precip rates, sometimes severe weather. We got away with no severe weather on Saturday, but look at how much rain we picked up. We knocked our rainfall deficit down substantially, but we're still running below average. So when you add in the rain we had on Saturday, the rainfall actually is over 4 inches. That's actually incorrect. It should be over 4 inches. So our rainfall deficit now is about 2.14 inches below to where we should be. So we're still running below average. Again, that should be over 4 inches. I thought I updated that this morning. But anyway, here we go. Basically, you know, with the weather headlines, it stays comfy throughout early this week. So not a whole lot of heat and not a whole lot of humidity either. Again, a chance for a couple inland showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder both today and tomorrow. But here comes the heat again. And like clockwork, here comes the humidity as we go into the later part of the week. Right now, it's not hot or humid. 68 as of noon hour. Northwest wind to 14 and the dew point's at 57. So all in all, not bad. Cooler than it has been. But again, as I told you earlier, don't get used to it. High pressure is kind of built in now. We're kind of on the leading edge of what was Tropical Storm Faye. It's now off the Atlantic East Coast. And because we're still kind of wrapped up in the flow around the remnant low, we're going to have the clouds around and along with a few scattered showers from time to time. Future Scan paints you that picture of a few scattered showers popping up, especially through the afternoon. Better chance of that is going to be inland away from Lake Erie. So again, if you have any plans to go out near the lake or especially near the beach, you should be okay. But again, just keep your eyes to the sky, obviously. That clears out later tonight, partly cloudy skies tonight. And then tomorrow, we'll have another chance for scattered showers, mainly inland away from Lake Erie once again tomorrow. But the chance tomorrow is a little bit smaller, about 20 to 25% chance tomorrow. That clears out, and then the heat starts to return as we go into the middle part of the week and into the late week. We're talking temperatures likely upper 80s once again and lots of humidity. Zone forecast, the Lake Erie shoreline today. This will likely be the warmer spot today, maybe mid 70s here. Again, I think more clouds than sunshine throughout the day, but at least it should be dry near the lake shore. Now, once you head inland, this will be your better chance for at least a spotty inland shower or thunder shower through the afternoon with temperatures lower to mid 40s. Now, the next 7 days of your life are coming up on the screen. 77 tomorrow, 83. We turn the heat up along with the humidity, and we stay there throughout the end of the week. And again, also going into the weekend, we have a chance for scattered afternoon showers and storms, both each day, obviously with the high humidity fueling those showers and storms. We'll take a quick break and be right back. Don't go away.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
Want weather now? Download the WNY News Now mobile app and stay up to date on severe weather alerts. Plus, anytime hazardous weather strikes, stick with the Southern Tier's only 24/7 streaming network that keeps you safe. You're all in a tornado warning, so now is the time to go to a safe place, small room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows. What are you waiting for? Download the WNY News Now mobile app today. It's free in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
There's an old saying, there's no news in the newsroom. Well, it's true. The time I spend at the anchor desk is just part of my day. Most of our time is spent gathering stories in the community, stories that matter to you. We can't do it alone, and we need your help. When you see breaking news or have a news tip we should know about, drop us a line on Facebook today, email our news desk, or call our newsroom at 488-7226 so we can bring those stories straight back to you.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back. The town of Chautauqua and Chautauqua Institution has won the Best Small Town Cultural Scene from USA Today. Nominated among several other American small towns, Chautauqua never relinquished the #1 spot in the contest while standings were visible until about a week before the end of the voting period. Chautauqua's win is the third national distinction a Chautauqua County entity has scored within the past 8 months. If you remember, back in December, the village of Fredonia was chosen as the featured town of Season 5 Small Business Revolution series on Hulu. The National Comedy Center was named Best New Museum in a USA Today contest back in February as well. This year, the institution is hosting most of their programming online due to restricted gatherings in place because of the COVID-19 pandemic. we certainly wish them well with that nomination, and it seems like everybody's got their eyes here on this section of Western New York. Hopefully everybody is having a great day, and we thank you so much for starting your week here with WNY News Now. We remind you, when you're on the go, stay in the know by downloading our mobile app. It's free in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. We're back here tomorrow. Hope to see you then.